Piercings on otters and latex on kittens. DTF bareback and no limits cruising. Surprisingly, these are not the lyrics to the hit Broadway classic My Favorite Things, but instead the grinder tags of our next comic. That's right. Even though we only are state mandated one gay comedian a year, this one's a little fruitcake too, which, as we all know, I love. If you're looking to see where the piercings part of that comes in, his clothing is obscuring it right now, but that might change by the end of the set. Please welcome Harison.
Woo!
I have it!
Thank you. Oh. Yeah, this Emory band doesn't tell you how the set's gonna go. Alright. So, I'm Harison, here's some acting like a witch, that's probably me. Yeah. Yeah. So, a few weeks ago, I got a text from my mother. If you want to know, she's called 6-month hotel, I was born early. She said, I have a 2-part question. I said, okay. Do you know what anal fisting is? 2, have you ever tried it? Because I saw some stuff on it on my P5 Facebook account and I have some safety concerns. Now, setting aside the fact that my mother, a second-generation Hindu immigrant, is doing the whitest thing of all time, being in a parents and friends of lesbians and gays Facebook group. Let's just focus on the text itself. Because I wish I could say that this caught me off guard or surprised me. Sad thing is it didn't. My mother is very protective of me because she's Indian. And in fact, my freshman year, she wanted me to call her every night to make sure that I hadn't been shivved or, I don't know, fisted or something. And her logic was, oh, it's the big city, it's somewhere new, it's dated, you never live away from home, da 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 da. And it's like, okay, Mom, we're from Atlanta. If I get jumped in an alley and I'm sent into anaphylactic shock, you can be here within the hour. And, you know, I say all this about how close I live to campus, which I do. But I'd be lying if I said there was a little bit of culture shock when I got here, because Atlanta and the Atlanta suburbs are two very different beasts. As a random example, I don't know, my hometown has more miles of golf cart path than road. This is real. Look, here's a map. It is more common in my hometown for people to have a golf cart as their primary vehicle than a car. My family owns a golf cart, none of us play golf, and we're not like members of the country club or anything anymore. We just own one because it's easier to get around that way. All 4 years of high school, that's how I got there. I drove a golf cart instead of a car. My high school had a designated golf cart parking lot. Here's what it looks like. I didn't even pull this from Google. I took this photo from my golf cart. And, you know, we're going to have to stay on high school for a little while. So if any of you took 8th grade Georgia history, which is a required course in this state for some reason, you might know who William McIntosh is. If you don't, he's the reason why we have all those landing launchers all over campus and we're both on stolen Muskogee land. He stole the land. Yeah, he's the guy who started the Trail of Tears. He's who my high school was named after, and this is our mascot. Which I feel like he had kind of a problem with, honestly. He didn't seem too fond of these guys. But, you know, whatever. Anyway, side tangent over. So, what is something that is very popular at both my high school and most public high schools across the South? That's right, football. Sorry, that's a picture of chlamydia. Football. Yeah. And what is something that every good football game needs? That's right, a costumed mascot to hype up the crowd. See where I'm going with this? Yeah, okay, so I have good news and bad news. The good news is, we got rid of the mascot in the 90s. Seems a bit late, but whatever. The bad news is, we never got rid of the costume. It was just sitting in the storage closet somewhere in the school. And my senior year, someone found it. So, what this guy did was he showed up to the next football game wearing the feather Henderson costume.
Oh.
A Scottish coat, a pair of Converse, and that's it. And I think the administration realized that having a blonde white guy dress up like this was kind of a bad look. So what they did was they made him the official mascot, because you know what, some of these North American administration is no longer moral. Go Eagles! But yeah, they gave this 16-year-old boy a paid hourly position to show up to every football game dressed like this, and what he would do is he would do a push-up every single time that our team scored, so he didn't do that many push-ups. Here's what that looked like, in case you're wondering.
What?
Yeah, I know. And at the end of the year when we were graduating, because we were both seniors, there was a 13-minute ceremony in which he passed the feather headdress down to an underclassman friend of his, also white, and said, I'm graduating, so you're going to be the mascot now. This was endorsed by the school and everything. We all had to go. It sucked. Also, fun fact about this guy, he once tried to run a friend of mine off the road in his golf cart because he knew they were non-binary.
Woo!
Yeah. Thank you, Jerry. Yeah, great dude. He was an Oklahoma lesbian now. Here's what he looks like. Anyway. I have, I think, an entire movie's worth of horror stories from my high school, but we don't have time to talk about all of them. We don't have time to talk about the guy who lost the race for class president because he put Andrew Tate's face on his campaign posters instead of his own. We don't have time to talk about the teacher who had the 8-foot-tall cast iron Jesus in her classroom. We don't have time to talk about the girl who got pregnant by a teacher's brother. And when the teacher found out about it because they did it at our house and she had a camera set up to watch her cat, so she caught her on camera. We don't have time to talk about any of that, so don't ask. We're just going to focus on the magnum opus of insane shit that happened in my high school. So, something we did was we had a few chorus classes, right? And our advanced chorus class every year would go on this 3-night field trip to nearby summer camp to rehearse for our end-of-year show, which was sort of like a glee club, cabaret style thing. It had dancing, it had choreography, it had costumes, it had dancing, it had, whatever. And my junior year, we get back into town after this field trip, and the school dog starts spreading. That's okay, I have a gay friend. So we started looking through this Google Doc, and it turned out that it is a fan fiction of the field trip. It had myself and all of my classmates, and the teacher, and all the chaperones in it as characters. And this is a Google Doc, so it is an openly shareable link. Anyone who has the link can access it. And it spreads like wildfire. All 4 grades at my high school, I do not know a single person who hasn't at least heard of it. Most people have read it. It starts spreading to other schools in the county. Somehow, no faculty member ever hears about it, despite the fact that it is a talking point at graduation and referenced in the valedictorian speech. And as for what was in this fanfiction of me and my classmates, there were these 3 senior guys, right, who have been very close friends since elementary school. And in the fanfic, they are depicted as being in a toxic, gay throuple. They are all straight in real life and all conservative, so that went down well. Here are their reactions to it. The first guy said, "This is weird," obviously. The second guy said, "Well, it's very well written, so I can't hate it." Okay, dude, sure. And the third guy said, "Oh shit, I'm gay and I have a crush on my 2 best friends," which, wow, hell of a queer awakening to have, my guy. Enjoy the rest of your life. He goes to Auburn. Okay, I promise I'm not knocking people. So, you might be wondering, what about the person who wrote this? They're in jail, I assume, right? And yeah, I thought the same thing for a while. But, okay, last I heard, don't quote me on this, my sources are next. They had changed all the names in the fanfic and turned it into the first act of a screenplay and submitted it as a class project when they got to college. And, again, last I heard, don't quote me on this, they were doing stand-up for the Emory Spoke, and they were texting their mom about being fisted. Here is the link to the screenplay. Here on Instagram if you want to give me feedback. Thank you.